Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to work on your business and joining us for our Omnipreneur series. Our first workshop this year is getting started with QuickBooks Online. As you're joining us, we do have a poll up on the main screen. If you would be so inclined to just give us some feedback, that helps us and our presenter, Tom, as we are working through the class today. I have turned on the closed captioning. If you do not want to see that in your Zoom menu, you can turn that off. And we'd also encourage you to introduce yourself. This is a great way to network virtually through the chat. Introduce yourself, and share a little bit about your business. And if you want to have your camera on, you're welcome to. You do not have to do that either. All right, a couple other housekeeping things. Our workshop today is an hour and 30 minutes long. We are recording today's workshop, and you will receive a link to this recording after today's workshop is completed. If you would, keep your microphone muted through the duration of the workshop. And we will take question and answers at the end of the workshop today. So if you have questions for Tom, please post those in the chat, and I will keep an eye on that, and we will go over those at the end of the workshop. All right. So the Roanoke Regional SBDC is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration and is supported by America's SBDC, the Virginia SBDC, and the Mason Enterprise Center at George Mason University. Other funding is provided by local administrations, economic development offices, organizations, and businesses that are all champions in your corner. We want to give a special thank you to our host and our fiscal host that provides space and a place for our work and provides funding for us as well as we receive our grant from the Small Business Administration. The Virginia SBDC is an organization of 27 different small business development centers across the state of Virginia. As you can see on the screen here, there's stars where all of our different centers are located. We currently serve the Roanoke Valley, New River Valley, and Allegheny Highlands in Franklin County. If you are not in our service area, there is an SBDC near you, and I will post the link to find the SBDC near you in our chat in just a few minutes. We work with businesses throughout the life of their business. As you can see here, we work with folks that are getting started or growing and expanding, or they're ready to exit, and everything in between. For those around the clock needs, we encourage you to check out our website that has free resources, worksheets, and articles that will help you run your business smoothly, available to you 24/7. Additionally, we also have our advisor match, which is available to you at roanokesmallbusiness.org/advising. It asks you a few intake questions and matches you with an advisor to get you started and for one-on-one advising. And that is for the folks that are in our service area. If you're not in that area, we will get you connected to our colleagues across the network. All right, and now the moment we've all been waiting for. It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague, our Tom Tanner, who is our Regional Advising Director, our VetBiz Coordinator, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and so much more. Please join me in welcoming Tom. And I know this is silly, but we love these little clappers. So if you want to give Tom an emoji in the poll in our chat there, you're welcome to do that. All right, Tom, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn the conversation over to you.
All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm going to end the poll here in just a couple of seconds and let us share it with everybody. One thing that's surprising is there's quite a number of people who have been in business for more than 3 years, when typically this class has been more for newer businesses. The other thing that jumps out at me, there's still a lot of people doing manual bookkeeping, so I think you're going to be happy to kind of see what options that you have available for you. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and then share the results so you can see it while I'm figuring out the rest of this thing, which I always have to do. Where is my presentation? Oops. In. All right. Oops. All right, forgot to turn on the speaker. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. Y'all had a chance to look through that. We're going to kind of cover a lot of stuff. So what we're going to be doing today, and the purpose of this particular class is to familiarize yourself with QuickBooks Online. This is not a class that's going to teach you every single thing you need to know about QuickBooks Online, because that would be pretty much an all-day class. But it is designed to kind of get you familiar enough with some of the features, which you pick, and kind of the next steps that you take. So the first thing I want to show you is, if you're thinking about getting QuickBooks Online, don't yet, because we have a discount code. And if you use this discount code, and you'll get a copy of this presentation, even though it's only a few slides, but you'll get a copy of these links. If you click on that, it'll entitle you to the discount, which is 1 month free, and then 30% off for 12 months. I'm also going to be going over a lot of what this class is going through the actual program, and there's a sample file that you can also have access to using this link here, that you can go online and play with it and mess it up or whatever else, and it's not going to affect it in any way. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to cover today and not a lot of time, so I'm going to make a lot of this stuff kind of brief, but hopefully enough to make you say, hey, I think this is the way I want to go. And the one thing I want to say more than anything else is the importance of moving to a computerized accounting system, no matter what it is making sure it's set up correctly initially. Because the worst thing you can do is just jump into it and then start doing stuff. And then you call me 6 months or 9 months from now and say, my QuickBooks are all screwed up. And then I sit down with you and go, well, we're going to have to dump everything and start from scratch. So the thing about doing this is get with your accountant, your bookkeeper, or make an appointment with us, and we can kind of help you go through the process of setting it up, making sure it's set up correctly. So certainly some of the advantages of using the online versions versus the desktop version. It's an online, it's a cloud-based program. And of course, obviously you can use it on any type of mobile or desktop. You don't have to have a Mac, you don't have to have a PC. As long as you have the internet access is all it requires. And another thing nice, it's automatically backed up, it's automatically secure, it's automatically updated on a regular basis. So you have all the current things that they've done to improve the program. All right. So I want to start with is kind of tell you about the different programs. So QuickBooks Online has 5 different programs, or 5 different levels. The first one is the self-employed version. And in the self-employed version, our discount code does not work on that. But QuickBooks normally, as you see here, will give you 50% off for 3 months. Okay. So if you know, the kind of the bait and switch here is you'll see $7.50 a month, but that's only for the first 3 months. And then there's little bitty letters, it's $15. So that's what it actually is. So the self-employed version works nice for individuals who are self-employed. They want a really simple program to keep track of stuff. They're using a Schedule C. They're not set up as a corporation, S corporation, LLC, or anything like that. It's very simple. So that's one version. So we're not going to talk about that because it's different than the other versions. So what we're going to go over is these 4 versions, and primarily the 3 here. And one thing I want to tell you about each one of these is that you want to kind of make sure that what you're getting is what you want. So if you talk to QuickBooks themselves, and some people will call it QuickBooks and say, guess which program they're going to try to sell you? They're going to try to sell you the most popular one, which is going to be, after the first year, $85 a month. Well, in fact, you may not need but the simple start version, which is only $30 a month or $21 for the first year. So I have clients come in all the time and I sit down with, and they're using basically the services of the simple start, but they're paying for the most popular because that's what they thought they needed, or because somebody at QuickBooks talked them into it. All right. So let's just start with the simple start version. And the way you do any of these is you click on the try it free button. Okay, and that will take you to the setup screen, which will kind of go a little bit. So the simple start version handles a lot of the smaller type businesses. You know, it'll track your income, it'll track expenses, it will, you know, basically provide profit and loss and balance sheets. It'll allow you to invoice, it'll allow you to do estimates, it'll allow you to do sales receipt.
Tom,
Yes.
can I interrupt you for just 1 second? There's on your screen, it's showing 2 black boxes. One of them just went away and there's another one at the very top of your slide.
Is it showing the full screen?
It is, and then it just has a little strip across the top between the green and the teal that's black.
Is that working better? Or the same thing?
It's still the same thing.
Oh, because I'm looking at, let me stop sharing and try again, because I'm looking at what I'm looking at. Is that better?
It's still showing that black box. I don't know if it's meant to be there or not. There's more blood. There. Can you all see that better now? Well, now there's one at the bottom.
Well, that's my navigation button. I don't know why it's showing that.
Okay.
So anyway,
Okay, we'll keep rolling. I think that gets us there. That's cleaner. Okay.
I don't know why.
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, it will track your sales tax if you have sales tax. It will manage 1099 contractors, but unless you have the payroll program, you still have to pay for actually printing those out and submitting them. It'll connect one sales channel. So if you have eBay, Etsy, a Shopify, or something like that, it'll connect one of those sales channel. It only allows for one user. Of course, one user, you know, you could have multiple users. They just have to sign in with the same login. And it allows for 2 accountants and 20 different reports. So again, that starts off at $21 a month if you're using our code. And then after the first year, it goes to $30 or whatever QuickBooks is at the time, which probably about a year now, they'll have another price increase. So the next version is the Essentials version, which offers a couple of things. It talks about managing bills, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. It allows you to do accounts payable, where the other one allows you to pay bills, but it doesn't allow you to manage bills. It also has some recurring transaction, delayed charges, and things like that. Allows three sales channels and 3 users and a few more reports. The Online Plus is where it moves into a few other things, where it gives purchase orders, it gives class and location tracking, which I'll show you a little bit about that. It'll allow you to track inventory if you need to track inventory. It'll allow you to do projects, which will allow you to do job costing. If you want to do job costing, like if you're running construction projects and you want to keep track of how much being done for each one, then you can use projects to help you keep track of that. It allows for more users and obviously has some more reports. The biggest one is the Advanced, which probably is not going to be something that you would ever use. It's much, much more advanced. It's probably for businesses doing multi-million dollars of business, and much more an advanced program. It also has a separate look and feel than what we're going to cover today. All right. So basically, again, I'm not going to go in a lot, but basically you would set up an account. When you click on that, try it now, it will take you here to set up a new account. And when you do that, it'll go through this process of entering about your business. What would you like to do in QuickBooks? What's your role? I will tell you, there's a little error here. What would you like to do in QuickBooks? You pick something out front. So if you picked Simple Start, and you click on more boxes than what the Simple Start offers, then they'll try to upgrade you to the newer, to a higher version. So if they try to kick you to another version, you go, well, I don't want to pay for another version. You're going to have to unclick some of these little buttons to do that. All right. So one thing I want to tell you is that if you're signed up, as soon as you signed up using that code, the first thing I would do is go into your account settings, which I'll show you in a second. I just want to show you here because I can't do it in the sample program. Is go under billings and subscriptions, and you'll see it down here. It says subscribe. You want to go ahead and subscribe by putting in your credit card information. It will not charge you until your 30-day trial is up. But what happens is if you go in here, if you do not do this, and your trial goes past the 30 days before you subscribe, then you lose your discount and there's no way to get it back. So if you put your credit card in immediately, then you won't lose your discount. And of course, you can always cancel your trial or cancel the program regardless. So it's just a word of warning. And at any time you want, you can also upgrade your plan or downgrade your plan, cancel your subscription, billing information, et cetera, upgrade to payroll, upgrade to QuickBooks Time, upgrade to online payments, all kind of stuff. One thing QuickBooks is good at is trying to sell you more stuff. All right, and this is just we're not going to be going over payroll today, but if you enter that if you enter that QuickBooks discount code, then you'll also have access to the QuickBooks payroll discount for that during that year too. All right. Let me see here. So something else I just want to show you, because I can't show you in the live version because it won't show you there, is that if you're interested in doing credit cards through QuickBooks, which is kind of slick, there's a button in here, payments, that allow you to go in there and set up a merchant's account. They also have a program, it's called Bill Pay, which allow you to do online payments so that if you enter something into QuickBooks, it'll automatically do either an ACH or a check to your vendor. That is a paid subscription, so you have to have an upgrade to do that and pay extra for that. And the same thing with payroll, you'll have to actually add payroll and pay additional fees for that. But I just wanted to show you that. All right, so now I want to jump to why we're here for, which is a live demonstration of the program. Why is mine? All right, I'm sure why that happened. All right, everybody see everything okay, Heather?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason it gave me a pause. I don't know why. All right, so this is the program. And again, this particular program is going to be the upper level. So there's going to be certain things that are available in this program that would not be available in the Simple Start version. But anyway, I want to show you. So this is your dashboard, and basically your dashboard has get things done, which kind of says, okay, these are things I need to do, like create estimates, send invoices, et cetera, et cetera. There's other places to do this too, but this is just another way to get, in QuickBooks, there's multiple places in the navigations to get everything done. You can then click on the business interview, and this will allow you to kind of see how your business is doing, you know, what invoices are unpaid. I don't know why it's not showing everything else, but there you go. Expenses, sales, profit and loss, shows your bank accounts, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right. So as we move up the field, the other thing I want to show you is that in QuickBooks, you're only allowed to look at the screen that you're looking at. So if I need to jump to something else, I have to go down and open up another screen. Well, I just lost the screen that I was on, which makes it kind of difficult to bounce back and forth. So the secret to that is going up to the very top to the tab in your windows and then clicking and hitting duplicate. And you can duplicate multiple times so that under each tab, you can have a separate, if it ever opens. So I can have one thing that has banking transactions. I can have one that has reports showing. So I can have three different things going on, and all I do is just jump back and forth between the tabs. I don't know why it's not working, but it does work. And that's the way you do that. All right, so let's move on to next thing on here, which is the new button. So if you click on this new button, this gives you access to most of the things that you would want to do on a daily basis, like invoice, receive payment, estimates, credit memos, sales receipts, refunds, checks, bills, and things like that. Again, some of these will not be available for every version. And some of them, like this is for the main version. Some of them will be like invoices and checks and things like that are going to be for all of them. If you see like a little error going up, that means it's an upgrade to another version. All right, let's go across the top. We have my experts. If you have an accountant that's set up in the system, then what happens is that accountant may send you information that would be in this box here so that you could download documents or whatever else. Help screen, you also have a magnifying glass, which is your search box. And let's just say that you were looking for, you wrote a check for $19.99, you can't remember where it is, then I can click that and it will pull up all the transactions that have $19.99 or the name or whatever you put in there. It'll do a search of everything in your system to help you find. So that's a good quick search. Now, the next thing is this little gear over here, which is your main setup screen. And under this is going to have things like if you're on desktop, which I saw some people are on desktop. So you can import your desktop data and it'll show you exactly, if I click on this, it'll show you a video of exactly how to go through the process to export your data from desktop to the online version. You also have things like an audit log that will show you every transaction and what's happened to every transaction. You have products and services we'll cover later. You have the ability to modify your forms, manage users. So if I click on manage users, if you have the ability to have more than one users, this is where you would add additional users. Everybody has the ability to add 2 accounting firms. So this could be your bookkeeper, could be accountant, your tax person. A lot of our accountants, a lot of our clients actually give us access to their books. So in the event that they have questions or want us to review them like on a quarterly basis, we can review their information without having to do something crazy stuff to get access to their particular information. Accounts and settings is where you go into where you put, you put your logo in here, you put all your company information, your EIN number, your tax forms, addresses, and things like that. Under sales, this is where you would click on certain fields that maybe you want to show and not show. If you're using progress invoices, which allows you to create invoices from one estimate or from one job, your default message on your invoices and sales forms. If you go down to expenses, it allows you to turn on and off certain things. Like if you're going to use purchase orders, you can click it on. If you're not using purchase order, you can click them off. Under the advanced will allow you to say, okay, what's the first month of my fiscal year? Am I on a cash or accrual basis? It has to do with discounts and things like that. Class tracking and location, I'm going to turn those on. And basically that just gives you additional features to be able to track if you have 2 locations or if you have different events and things you want to track, you can use class tracking. So those allow you to run a report for certain types of activities or events that you may participate in. And that's mostly what you would use this for. There's a few other things you might want to go over. All right, so what's next? Went through all that. Okay, so now we're going to go to our chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts, if you go under accounting, you see chart of accounts. So you probably ask, what is a chart of accounts? Well, plain and simple, it is a chart of your accounts. So it's probably appropriately named. And what it means is every time a transaction happens within an accounting program, it's not just QuickBooks, any accounting program, if you have an expense, it's categorized to some particular account. If you have an income, it's categorized to some particular income. And when you do these appropriately, every transaction, this is what creates your profit and loss statement. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to my presentation for a second and show you this here chart of accounts. Are you able to see this?
Not yet. It's showing a black screen on my end.
I don't know why it's saying paused.
There we go. There's just a small black box at the bottom of the screen.
But you're not seeing what I'm, okay.
I see the accounting chart of accounts.
Chart of, you don't see the chart of accounts though.
Now it's gone back to the black screen.
Well, this is really weird. All right, so I need to, let's give me something I've never seen before. All right. So now you're looking at it. I assume you're looking at my PowerPoint where it says landscaping company at the top.
It shows getting started with QuickBooks, and then there's a black box in the bottom middle. It's in your PowerPoint is what it's showing.
It's not showing chart of accounts income. I have here is, let's get out of the way. So the most important thing to help you kind of run your company, and this is taking it kind of next step when you're trying to set up your chart of accounts, is that it's very important to be able to use your profit and loss statement and your chart of accounts to help you run your company better. And the first way to do that is set up your chart of accounts based on giving you the best information. And if you have multiple income streams, let's just take this landscaping company. A lot of companies will just basically set up a sales income account and they dump everything into that sales income account. And then cost of goods account, maybe they dump everything into that cost of goods account. But it doesn't really give you the ability to help you understand how your business is doing. So what I do is when I talk to clients is I say, okay, let's break down your company into the different revenue streams that you have. And let's list those. So for this landscaping company, we say, okay, there's mowing, there's fertilizing, there's planting, there's yard work. And under yard work, there's even sub-accounts like mulch and leaf removal. And then we have hardscape. And then we just throw in a miscellaneous for other types of stuff. Okay. So that helps me when I run my profit and loss statement. I can see, well, how much of all my revenue is coming from mowing? How much is coming from fertilizer? How much is coming from plantings? Because that can help me better understand my company, understand, payroll requirements, understand purchasing requirements, understand advertising needs and things like that. The second thing is I have cost of goods that are associated with that. So even if I had all my income streams, I also want to know my cost of goods because I could just dump everything in the cost of goods, but they won't help me tell me whether or not I've got an issue. So now we look at mowing, and mowing has a cost of goods that's tied directly to mowing. Fertilizers tied directly to fertilizers. Plantings tied directly to plantings. So that, let's just say your fertilizer income was $10,000 and your cost of goods for fertilizing was $1,000. So now you look at it and go, okay, so my fertilizing is 10% cost of goods for my fertilizer. That makes sense. That's the number I thought I would be at based on my budgeting forecast of my inventory purchases, et cetera, and my pricing. But what if my $10,000 fertilizing and my cost of goods was $11,000? Then I've got to figure out, okay, something's going on. Did I, from an accounting standpoint, get something screwed up because I didn't put things in the right place under income, or didn't put right things under cost of goods? Was it the fact that I really screwed up some pricing? Is it the fact that maybe I paid some bills that and I didn't get product for? Is somebody stealing from me? What is it? So I have the ability to kind of really look deep into what's going on with each one, and I can tell immediately whether or not we've got a problem in certain areas. So anyway, that's the purpose of setting up a chart of accounts and doing it correctly. Once I get back into the program, I'll show you how to do that. Before I do that, I'm gonna jump ahead just a little bit because I want to show you the next thing. Well, this just shows you the profit and loss statement. So everything that we do in our chart of accounts produces this particular form, which is your profit and loss statement. So this is a perfect example. Under this one, you're showing they've got income from design, they got income from landscaping services, they got labor income, they've got pest control service income, product income, et cetera, and they're showing their total income at $10,200. So it's broken down, so he's got a good idea where the income is coming from. But then he's got cost of goods all thrown into one thing, and it's only $405. So immediately I'm looking at it and go, first of all, he should have it broken down by category. And second of all, he's got a major problem because he's only got $500 in cost of goods, and you know there's cost and stuff associated with some of these things like job materials, fountains and garden lighting. There's some sort of cost of goods associated with that, and it's not being captured. All right. So now what I want to do is jump ahead just for a second because I'm on my PowerPoint, and I'm going to come back to the chart of accounts when I jump back in. So the next thing we're going to talk about when we get back in is talking about connecting your bank and credit card accounts. I cannot do that through the sample company, showing you how to actually connect it. So I'm going to use a video that QuickBooks has to be able to show you, let them go through the process, and then I'll kind of walk you through the steps that happens after that. So I'm going to turn this on. Hopefully it works.
This is Karen from the QuickBooks team. Connecting your bank and credit card accounts to QuickBooks is the fastest way to accurately record your company's financial transactions. Let's go over how to connect a bank or credit card account to QuickBooks and choose how far back you want QuickBooks to pull your transaction history. To get started, select the Transactions menu. There are two ways to bring in transactions from your bank and credit card accounts. The first option is to download your company's historical transactions from your bank and credit card in a file. Then you can upload that file so QuickBooks adds those transactions to your accounts. If your bank doesn't have the option to connect your accounts, you can usually still get a file and upload transactions manually. However, keep in mind, you need to upload a new file every time you want to bring in more transactions. The second option is to connect your bank or credit card so QuickBooks downloads your transactions automatically. Let's connect an account. Select your bank or credit card from the list of popular financial institutions, or enter the name of your bank or credit card company and select it from the list. You'll need to enter the username and password you use to log into your bank or credit card's online banking. Each bank and credit card has its own security features and may require a few more steps. Once you've finished with your bank or credit card sign-in steps, QuickBooks looks for all the accounts you have with your financial institution. Select each account you want to connect. Note that you don't have to select everything you see. You should only select the accounts that are relevant to your business. If you see a personal account that isn't business related, you can leave it unselected. At this point, QuickBooks will connect your online account with one from your chart of accounts. If you've already set up the account on your chart of accounts, you can choose the relevant account from the drop-down menu, or choose the kind of account you want QuickBooks to create for you. Once you've selected the accounts you want to connect, you need to choose how far back you want QuickBooks to go when it downloads transactions from your bank or credit card account. The default choice is the beginning of last year. Many businesses want to bring in transactions from just the beginning of the current year. If you don't see the option you want, select Custom and enter the date. When you're ready, select Connect. Once the connection is complete, you'll see all your business transactions that cleared your bank or credit card from the date you entered to today. When more transactions clear your bank, they'll appear on this list for you to review. The next step is to categorize them so QuickBooks adds them to the correct accounts. Follow the link at the end of this video to learn how to do that.
All right, so I'm going to jump back into the sample program. I'll have to stop because it doesn't seem to be working the other way. Share back into. All right. That should be working, hopefully.
Yes, I see the chart of accounts in the QuickBooks
Okay.
web.
Okay. All right. So this is your chart of accounts. So QuickBooks bases your initial chart of accounts based on what type of business you said you're in. So you're going to have all these accounts, and they're guessing a lot of stuff. And a lot of times they're putting way more stuff in here than you'll ever need. So first thing I usually do is go through and set up the ones that are necessary for you, just like I did for that landscape company, the different income accounts and the different cost of goods accounts. So you do that by just going to new. And now it's basically asking you, are you setting up an income account? Is it an expense account? Are you setting up a bank? Is it an asset that you're putting on your balance sheet? Is it a credit card? Is it liability where you owe money, or is it equity such as money that you've put in the company, et cetera? So if it's an income account, it's then going to go through the process to ask you, where does it fall? Does this fall under income? And now you can determine the account name and go through the process. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but just want to show you how that works. The second step is, once you've kind of done all that, what you want to do is get rid of the ones you're not using. Is just to go over here to the very last page, and there's a little down arrow, and hit make inactive. Because you might have hundreds of these things that you're not going to use, and all they're going to do is get confusing for you and accidentally pick up the ones you don't want rather than picking the one you want. So if you get rid of the ones you're not using, there's less chance of accidentally doing them. The other thing I want to show you is you also have what's called sub accounts. So you'll see this one here says labor. So labor is an account it's an income account, but then they also said under labor, we're going to have sub accounts. And typically when you have sub accounts, you don't use the main account because all the labor falls within installation or maintenance or repair. And the way you do that is when you run a report, and I didn't do that correctly, sorry about that, is when you go to labor, you hit the down arrow and hit edit. You go down and you'll see down here, it's down here under labor. So it comes as a sub account underneath this particular area. And that's the way these would work. So you'll see if I edit this installation, you'll see installation is listed under labor. So you can see it's tabbed in from it. So that's the way sub accounts work. And where you would use sub accounts would be, I use that sub accounts a lot with advertising, where maybe under advertising you have website, maybe you have social media, maybe you have print media. And that way you can kind of see what all your different advertising dollars are going to. All right. So that is chart of accounts. So now, since I've already showed you video, we're going to go actually into the banking screen. So to me, this is the biggest advantage of QuickBooks Online or any online banking system where it connects directly to your bank. So what you're looking at is the transactions that the bank has already cleared through the bank. So when you log onto your bank account, so if you go over here where it says banking and hit banking, you'll see in this case here, they have a checking account, there's a savings account, and there's a MasterCard account. Okay. I can add additional accounts by just clicking on that link account button, like they showed you in the video. One thing I want to point out that they didn't mention is that when you do this, things up real soon. So let's just say I put in First Citizens. So under First Citizen, you'll see there's 10 results for First Citizens Bank. Okay. So you may pick the first one. Well, that may not be the login for your particular checking account or your account. It may be one of the other ones. So if you get on there and you find your account is not working correctly, you may go back and go, well, maybe it's one of these other links. I need to check one of those other links first to make sure it's working. It could be the bank's is not working, and I've had that issue with several banks too, but I just want to show you that's one of the options that it could be a problem. Also, if you look on here, you'll see this one says updated moments ago. Okay. If you log in and it says updated 3 days ago, just go up here where it says update and click on the update button, and it'll immediately download all the transaction as to the minute that you click that update button. Typically, when you open it up, it will automatically do that, but sometimes it does not. Okay, so we're going to go through this in a second, but at the top up here, and something else I want to point out is that what you're looking at is a particular view of QuickBooks. And under the little gear up here, QuickBooks gives you the option to use an accountant's view, which is what this is. I can switch to a business view, which I'll just show you. In some cases, when you log in, yours may already be set up as a business view. And I'll show you what this looks like. And you'll notice it looks totally different. It has these little icons over here. It's not even listing the same topics as the other ones. So if you get on here and you get really confused at what's where, and it may be fine for you. I don't like it the way it works. I think it's confusing, et cetera, et cetera. So you can go back and switch back to accountant's view. Now, even under accountant's view, QuickBooks is always experimenting with different views of the navigation bar. Like when I logged on to this morning, before I did this class, the view I was getting was like this on the left-hand side, but it was also giving me where if I went under banking, it gave me this, but it didn't show it up here. It just showed it over here. So anyway, just letting you know that your screen may not look like my screen because QuickBooks likes to play around with screens, I guess. All right. At the top here, you have app transactions. So app transactions would be if you're connected to Square, Amazon, eBay, and things like that, it will bring in transactions from those particular apps. The next one is rules. And I'll show you rules in a minute, but it helps you classify transactions much faster. You also have something for tags, and I'm sure you're all familiar with tags, but you're able to tag transactions in case you're wanting to, let's just say it's an event that you're doing and you want to put a tag on that event in case you want to pull stuff up from an event or some other type of activity so that you could track the expenses or income from that particular activity. You also have receipts. So receipts will show you where you can upload receipts from your computer. Maybe you've taken pictures of them. or scanned them. You can upload them from your Google Drive and have access to them. You can even forward from your email so that you enter your email address and then send it to QBOdocs.com and make sure this is your login email. It will automatically send those particular receipts to here where you can then classify where they belong to. And also, if you have if you're using the mobile app, take a picture of it. And if I have a chance, I'll show you the video of the mobile. Take a picture of it from the mobile app. It will actually try to classify it. So if you go to Staples, it will recognize it's a Staples, classify the vendor as Staples, classify the transaction as office supplies, and then all you do is approve X as whether or not that's what it was. All right, so let's go back to banking tab. So what happens is the bank drops down transactions from the bank. So all these transactions have been cleared by the bank. Now, what you have to do is you have to tell it what chart of account those go to. What is that account? Remember those charts of account that we were talking about earlier that follows to your profit and loss statement? Where do they belong to? Now, some of these may have already had something that you put into the system. So what it's doing, it's matching into what you've done. So let's just start off with an easy one where you have Hicks Hardware Store. And one thing I want to mention is this column here where it says payee is going to default to something that QuickBooks picked. It may not even be the right category or the right vendor. It's just guessing where it belongs. The same thing with category. QuickBooks is going to throw in here what it thinks is the right category. That does not mean it's correct. It just thinks it's correct. You still have to look at it and go, okay, that is correct, or that's not the correct one. So in this case here, QuickBooks found that on 12/22, you wrote a check number 75 for $228.75. So it's matching to that in your system to say the check that you wrote is now been cleared by the bank. So all you have to do is it's been matched. All I have to do is just add it into the system. And now where it happens to it, it goes into up here on the very right, you'll see go to bank register. And in your bank register will be every transaction in your bank account for that particular bank account. And you can switch back and forth at the top here. And you can see which every transaction, if you accidentally put something in the wrong place, like Pam sees, if you look at it and go, that's not supposed to be legal and professional fees, all I need to go in here is just drop down and say, maybe it was an accounting fee, is I can switch to it and just hit save. Okay, so you can change things in here. Unless it was misclassified as something like a transfer and it wasn't supposed to be a transfer. So this is what happens to all your transactions. And you also see in here a C. The C means it was cleared by the computer, which is what we just did. If you start bank reconciling, which is up here, which I'll show you a little bit later, reconciling a bank account, it'll then come up and give you R's down here to show that that account's been reconciled up to that particular date. All right, so let's go back to some other examples. So speaking of Pam, here's Pam. So we're going to click on Pam, and QuickBooks is saying there's 2 matches found, okay, for $75. One is an expense for expense 76 that was $75 for Pam. Another one is a bill payment for $75, but it says it was Books by Bessie. So this is a case where QuickBooks just looked at it and matched the dollar amount. It didn't look to see the vendor, even though it did get the vendor correct here. And if that's correct, then all you need to do is just match. If it's the other one, you would just click on that one and pick that one. But in case this is correct, we're just going to match. All right, we're rolling along. All right, so the other thing you want to look at is at the top up here, you'll see 4 accounts. One says uncategorized, 2 says uncategorized income, and 2 of them say uncategorized expense. You never, ever, ever, ever want to post something that says uncategorized income or uncategorized expense. Everything must be categorized. So what happens is now I need to say, okay, I need to figure out where that belongs. So anywhere on here, I can click and it drops down this particular thing. And you'll see where it says category. I know it's not uncategorized expense. I think it's rental. So we're going to key in, just type in the word rental, or you can search through the whole list, but it's easier just to write rental. And you'll see, oh, there's an equipment rental here. There's a subcategory of job expenses. There's also a regular one, but since there's a subcategory, I'm going to use that one. So I've now reclassified them. Remember, I set up location and classes. So it's also asking me, do I want to classify it with a particular location or a particular class because I'm trying to track it? So it allows you to do that. You also see down here where it says tags. If I want to put tags in, it will allow me to put tags there. Also, since this is an upper version, it allows you to do billable. So I can click on billable and then charge a particular customer for it. And now it's going to go on their account. So when I pull up a invoice to bill them, it will show that these also need to be billed. All right. So then I'm just going to hit add. So you'll notice as soon as I did that, the two other things in here for a rental automatically went to job expenses, equipment rental. Because QuickBooks says, well, if you said the last one was like that, we're going to assume that the rest of them are like that. So it does some intelligent gathering. It's not necessarily always intelligent, but it does its best. All right, so let's click on this again. And let's just say you use a rental a lot. And it's always going to be equipment rental because that's what they do. So I can create, which is one of the coolest tools there is in here, but the most dangerous one that you can use in here is create a rule. So I'm going to create a rule. And also remember, when you're using this, let me go back and do this first, is I'm going to create a rule called a rental. Because you just have to name it something. And what it's basically saying is anytime there's money out from the checking account and the description contains a rental like it did here, then it's going to automatically be assigned as an expense under job expenses equipment rental. Okay. If I want to test to see if that works, I can hit the test rule button and it'll show it's going to apply to one unreviewed transaction. All right, now, the most dangerous button in QuickBooks is this one down here where it says automatically confirm transaction this rule applies to. Right now, it's set as auto add. That means every time a transaction comes from the bank that's a rental, it's going to automatically apply to that, and you don't have to do anything, which could be good because it saves you time trying to classify it. It can also be bad because you didn't set your rule up correctly and it's misclassifying stuff. I was meeting with a client a month or so ago, and she had like 30 different rules in here, and they were duplicate rules and they were matched wrong. So things were being sent to the wrong department and matched the wrong places. And it was, it was like a 6-hour cleanup trying to get it fixed. So rules can be very useful, but they're also very dangerous. So if you're not sure it's working correctly, the easiest thing to do is just turn off this auto add. And especially if you're using class tracking or anything, you want to turn it off, is hit save. So now you'll see up here, it says a rental, it says rule. So now if I go in here and go, okay, that is correct, then I can just hit add. Or since if I'm trying to track location or class or customer, this rule is already classifying the category, but it gives me a chance to go ahead and classify the customer, location, class, and if it's billable, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. This case here, we're fine with it. I'm just going to hit add. All right. So now we have a rental, but a rental here says job expenses, but it doesn't say rule here. And it doesn't say rule here because it's a money received. And the rule that we set up was money going out, not money going in. And if you'll notice, this is for a deposit refund. Since we charged any money to job expenses, equipment rental initially, it's going to be credited back to it. So this is correct. If you do a lot of refunds or deposit returns, then you could set up a rule, but it'd be set up as an income rule, not an expense rule. So this is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add there. All right. So the last thing I want to show you in this is you'll see all these match. So again, you just go through and match it and make sure they're correct. Is if you want to do a bank transfer. So first of all, and I don't know how many times this has been confused with clients, but a transfer is within QuickBooks. So if I do a transfer, it has to be between one of these three accounts. A transfer to my personal savings account is not a transfer, okay, because it's not moving from one account into another account within QuickBooks. So if I go to new and then I go to transfer, it's asking me where the transfers from. So let's just say it's from checking and it's going to savings. Okay, and the transfer amount is $200, even though we don't have any money in the account. All right, and then I hit save and close, or I hit save and new. Save and new just means that it it saves this transaction, but it keeps on the screen. Save and close basically means it saves it, but closes the screen. So now I've set up a transfer to go over from a checking to savings. Again, it's between accounts here. Now, the most important thing is, this is another thing I've had clients ask me about, or say, you know, I did a transfer from my checking to savings, but it never showed up in my bank account. All you're doing here is doing a transfer within QuickBooks. You still have to go to the bank and actually transfer the money, or go to your mobile app and transfer the money. QuickBooks is not physically transferring the money. It's just transferring it from an accounting standpoint. All right. The last thing I want to show you in banking before you move on to the next exciting area is going to reconciliations, so that anytime you have bank accounts, you should be reconcile your bank accounts on a regular basis. And again, you would basically go in here and enter your ending balances. Let's just say it's $5,000. And the ending balance is January 31st. Some banks will have a little button that says download bank statements. If you have that, do that, because what it'll do is actually download your bank statements into QuickBooks. It doesn't do anything with it. It's just a PDF, but you can take the information from there without having to log into your bank account. And if you hit start reconciling, basically what it's going to do, it's going to come up and look at it and go, okay, we're going to classify all the transactions to see whether or not, according to this, we're still off by $2,100. Okay, something's wrong, which means you got to use your statement to figure out where the error is. I can tell you, if you do everything correctly on a daily basis, this thing would usually pop up to be 99% of the time. Okay, it's only finding mistakes. I did one with a client today before this class, and we did 6 months worth of bank statements in like 5 minutes because it was all done correctly. So it was always a zero balance. All right, so that is banking. So the next thing I want to go to is sales, since that's a big thing you're going to be using. So you, under sales, you have invoices, estimates, and then you have sales receipts. So if you go under sales, this just gives you a list of all your sales. But let's talk about invoice. And so if you're going to be setting up an accounts receivable system, so accounts receivable means you're sending an invoice to somebody and you're giving them some time to pay, whether it's 10 days, 15 days on receipt or whatever, then it stays in the system. Like these here show you these are particular clients that are due in 2 days, these are overdue, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're going to do is create an invoice. So it comes up at the screen here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pick a client. And if it's a new client, you just set up a new client. Terms, you can click whatever terms that particular client has, and you can set it up in their actual account what their particular terms are, so every client can have different terms if need be. If it's net 30, whatever your invoice date is, your due date is going to come out 30 days from then. Again, you can add tags, et cetera, et cetera. They also have locations up here if you want to add location, class down here, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so the first thing we do is when you create, and this will also apply to a sales receipt, and the difference between a sales receipt and an invoice is a sales receipt is something where you have the money in hand right now. So you're creating a receipt to accept the money at this time. An invoice is one where you're creating an invoice where you expect to be paid at some time in the future, and you have to wait till it comes in and then you receive payment for it. So the way this works is you'll see it says product service. So anytime you're billing out something, you have to set up product codes for everything that you do. Okay, now that can be combined if you do multiple different designs, you can create all the different design categories, or you can just say, I just want one product code that says design. Okay, so let's just say this customer paid for some design work, then we could put in design. I in turn can type whatever I want into here, design waterfall. Okay, and then I can say we had 3 hours worth of work. My rate is set up at 75, but I can change that to 85 because this person was a pain. Okay, I can set up a class if I want to. I can set up discount codes if I want to. I can set up sales tax if I want to. Or if I want to just tax certain items, I can just click on it and tax that particular line item. Design services may not be taxable, but let's say I'm buying a pump also, and that's taxable. So now it's going to figure tax based on that particular product. And we're going to count California's sales tax. So what happens is it adds $1.20 in sales tax on that $15 pump, but it doesn't add sales tax on that. Okay, and from here, I can either hit save and send, which means if I hit save and send, it's going to pull up what my email is going to say to this particular client. Okay, it's got a subject line that says invoice from Craig. I can change that. I can change the body of the text or whatever. And then I can just hit send and close. If I have credit cards set up in QuickBooks, if I'm using the credit card processing service through QuickBooks and also the ACH transfer, there'll be boxes up here that allow me to check credit card and ACH so that when I save and send, there'll now be a button on their receipt that says pay here. And when they click on that, it will allow them enter credit card information or bank information. And when that's paid, it will automatically update that invoice inside of QuickBooks, and you don't have to do anything. All right, so I'm just going to say save and send, and you'll see here that email won't go, obviously, because email's not hooked up. So anyway, it shows that there's a customer here that was set up. All right, so now I've sent out this this invoice. Let me sort by date because it's not showing up my last one. There we go. There's bills. Okay, so I can click on any of these columns and go up or down based on the category I'm in. And you can see here I resorted by date. And you'll see 271.20 is owed by bill. Let's just say he's already sent me a check. So I would go over here where it says receive payment, or I can go down here and say, well, dang, I guess still hasn't sent me a bill. I can hit send reminder, and it will send him a reminder to say, okay, still haven't paid. Okay, in this case here, I'm going to say receive payment. So when receive payment comes up, I now go, okay, he's paying my check number 123. All right, so he is paying this particular invoice, or if he's got multiple invoices, because he's told you which one he's paying, you would click on each one of the invoices. Okay, now, one of the most confusing things in QuickBooks that you'll run into is this department called undeposited funds. So you can say, I'm going to deposit this into my checking account, or I can deposit it into undeposited funds. The difference is if this is the only check you have and you're going to the bank today, then you could say, I'm going to deposit it into the checking account because that's where it's going. Or if I'm using the mobile app and I'm making a deposit, I'll use the checking, because even if I got multiple checks, most banks will separate those out as each separate deposits. However, if you're in a situation where you have checks coming all the time, you go to the bank one day a week, and you go every day somebody comes in, you put a check on the top of in your top drawer, and the next day you put another check on top drawer, and the next day you put another check in your top drawer. Then what we do is put it under what we call undeposited funds. So I'm going to save that. Oops, save and close. So now what happens, it's Friday and I'm going to go to the bank. So now I'd go over here where the new button is and go to bank deposit. And now what happens is I'm going to the bank and going, okay, today I'm taking this check, and this check. So the deposit I'm making is $2,333.72. Okay. And I can even print off a deposit slip and summary or whatever else. But this is what I'm doing. And then I hit save and close, and it's going to save that as a deposit. So what happens if you don't do that and you put it in the checking account, then QuickBooks sees three different deposits. Sees a deposit for $271.20, sees a deposit for $1675.52, sees a deposit for $387. Okay, but the bank only sees it as one deposit for $2,332. So when it drops down, there's going to be a $2,332 deposit, and you have to go figure out what invoices are being paid with that $2,333 deposit. Now, if you got 3 checks and that's the only checks outstanding, it's not a big deal. If you get 50 checks a week and you try to do the other method, it's going to turn into a nightmare trying to sort through this and kind of, okay, is this check or is it this check? Or I have some clients that, 90% of their checks are $100. So now you got to figure out which $100 check is it? Is it just a $100 check from this person, or is it a $100 check from this person? So anyway, that's how undeposited funds works. All right. Told you I'd be confusing. All right, we already talked about customers. So customers, you can easily go into the customers column, and you can, if you have a bunch of customers, you can just type it here, but let's just go into Bill's Windshirt Shop. You can see everything that he's got. Okay, you can see all the payments he's made, all the invoices are created, and you can see what his current balance is, $85. Okay, so that allows you to, if there's any question, you can go back and figure out what's going on or what's going on with a particular client. And of course, products and services is what we were talking about when we were doing these other things, talking about designs, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're setting up a new product, first of all, you have to decide, is it a service, is it a non-inventory, et cetera, or is it an inventory product? So if it's a service product, you're going to set it up, and it's going to ask you, the most important thing is, it's going to ask you, where do you want, anytime you bill out this particular service, where do you want to show up? Do you want it under Do you want it under pest control service? You want it under refunds? You want it under sales? You want it under installation, et cetera, et cetera? Where do you want to show up so that when you charge it, it automatically flows to that particular account? Okay, so let's just look at lighting here. You'll see that under lighting, the income account is landscaping services, job materials. Okay, so now you know that when you charge something in lighting, the income from that invoice is going to show up where you want. You may have multiple services or multiple products that showed up at the same exact sales account or same income account. Okay, so that's products and services. All right, I told you we're going to be brief and going through a lot of stuff. We've got a couple more pages here. The other thing that you can also create an estimate, and an estimate will allow you to create basically an invoice, but it's not billed. So it doesn't do anything until you're ready to make it active. And if it's active, then you can go into the customer's account and basically say, convert this estimate to an invoice. Or you can go up here and actually say, you know, it's accepted, it's closed, it's rejected, or whatever else, so that you can reclassify that. But the coolest thing is it allows you to create an estimate, and then when you get ready to bill for it, you don't have to do anything else. All you do is just say convert to an invoice. All right, so next, bill pays. So under bill, let's go under vendors. Let's talk about expenses. So if we look at expenses, you have multiple ways to track or pay bills. You can pay bills through expenses, the expense tab, which basically means you just add a transaction that is an expense item. And this can be, the nice thing is you can use whatever. This was done by cash, it was done by check, it was done by Visa or whatever. It's just recording a transaction into as an expense item. Is it coming out of your checking account? Was it coming out of something else? Okay. So where did it come from? Did it come out of your Visa account? And typically you wouldn't do that because you would just wait for the credit card transaction. But everything else, if it was a check or cash or something else, you would put it through as an expense. Your other method is that you can actually write a check. So it works just like writing a check, is you basically put in the person's, you know, Bob's Burger Joint or whatever, and you put in what you bought it for. Let's just say it was meals. Except I can't spell meals, right? So let's just say it's meals, and it was for $25. Okay. You hit save and close. So now I've just I wrote a check number 71 to Bob's Burger Joint for $25. So now when it drops down from the bank, after it's been cleared by the bank, it will match up with this $25 check right here. And you don't have to do anything else, because then all you do is just accept it and it's done. It's already filled out. Okay. The other thing you can do for versions, not the simple start version, but some of the higher versions, you can do what we call bills, create bills. This is not bill pay. This is manage bills. Bills pay is an extra option that you pay for to upgrade it so that when you pay a bill, it does an online bill payment for you. Okay. Bill pay is basically saying, I want to create a bill. So I get a bunch of bills that come into my house. I get electrical bill, I got telephone bill, and I want to enter them the day they come in. So as soon as they come in, I can enter them in the system, put the day. So I hit add. I can put, all right, so I'm going to say when it's due, et cetera, et cetera. So now I can schedule my bills out, and then it's going to show up as an accounts payable on my balance sheet. Okay. If you don't have that version, normally you just write a check or write an expense. You basically you keep your bills on top of your desk. And then when you're ready to write bills, you just do a check or do an expense and you immediately pay it either through a check or through online payments, et cetera, et cetera. You don't really schedule your bills. Okay. But then you can pay bill. If you schedule bills, you can pay bills. And what happens is it'll come up and say, okay, these are the bills that are due right now. Do you want to go ahead and pay all of those? If you do, you just click on the ones you want to pay, and then you can either submit for online payments if you're set up for bill pay, or you can print off them, or you can just add the check number. Okay, so that's bill pay, and that's the different ways you can do it. So for very simple businesses, I will tell you that some clients will basically just wait until the transaction drops down from the bank. Okay, so rather than actually putting the transaction into QuickBooks, like writing a check or doing an expense before they actually pay the bill, they just wait till the bank drops the bill down. And at that time, they will match it to the correct category. The advantage of that is it's a little quicker because you're just matching it when it comes down. The disadvantage is you got to make sure that you're keeping track of what checks that you have outstanding, because you don't want to bounce a check because you sent something. Because if you don't put it in the system, QuickBooks has no idea what your balance is. It only knows what your bank balance is. As I entered bills into the system, as you'll see here, it says minus 824. That's because I've done bill pays and I've got bills that I've sent out that are waiting for the bank to clear. So anyway, that's two ways you can do that. You just have to be careful. If you have a lot of bills, I would probably not use that method. I would put the checks in the bank, put the checks into or payments into QuickBooks, so you can actually see what your QuickBooks balance is and not just wait for it to fall down and actually accidentally bounce a check. All right, so other things, you have payroll that you can add. Reports obviously is one of the biggies. Is no matter what version you have, you're going to have things like accounts receivable service, aging summary, you're going to have a balance sheet, and you're going to have a profit and loss statement. So I'll just click on the profit and loss statement. So this will allow you to pretty much pull a report for any particular period of time that you're looking for. If you have a lower version, it's not going to let you compare reports, but it will give you the report for that period. And it will also run it either as an accrual basis or a cash basis. You can customize report and save the customization, et cetera, et cetera. So this is obviously a very important report. If you have other things, there's all kinds of reports. Again, based on the version you get, there's all kinds of reports that are available to you. Okay. Taxes, if you do sales tax, it will keep track of your sales tax for you, and then allow you to pay it. Mileage, it will keep track of your mileage for the owner of the company or one person by using your phone app, or you can just add stuff manually into the system. If you want to do it for all your employees, then that's an additional thing. The same thing with time, which is a time mapping program that people can, if you have employees in the field, that they can clock in and clock out, assign jobs and things like that. Accounting, we just talked about chart of accounts and reconciliation. My accountant is where you would sit in and ask for accounts. And then apps would be where you would add certain apps like third-party apps, bill pay, Square, and things like that. So that is pretty much a pretty good layout of QuickBooks. I do want, since we got just a few minutes, I do want to show you the mobile app video, because again, I can't really show you on this. I'm going to show you the video. And
This is Karen from the...
no, I don't care about Karen. Let me get to this. There we go. All right, so let me, hopefully you're looking at the right thing now.
We don't see your screen yet, Tom.
Probably because I think I remember how to do this after I've done it a million times. All right, so by now.
Yes, I see the QuickBooks mobile app.
Okay,
On
so
your
I'm going to
screen.
play this one so y'all can kind of see how this thing works.
Any place your place of business with the QuickBooks mobile app. Run your business from anywhere and on any device. The app is available as a free download for both Android and iOS devices. In this video, we'll use the iOS version. Let's take a look at some of the ways the QuickBooks mobile app can help you stay organized on the go. Use your phone or tablet to enter transactions, record expenses, invoice customers, and so much more wherever you are. Make decision on the go with an overview of sales, expenses, and profits right at your fingertips. Automatically sync across all devices. It doesn't matter whether you're working at your computer or on your mobile app, your data will sync in real time for easy collaboration. Keep customer information on hand and up to date. Add customers from your contacts in an instant, access their addresses or phone numbers, or edit their information at any time from anywhere. Invoice like a pro. You can send professional-looking invoices and estimates right from your mobile device. To get started, just click the invoice icon on your mobile app dashboard. All the information you need is easily accessible or can be added right from your phone. It's quick and easy to invoice customers from wherever you are. Send Invoice allows you to email your customer directly from the app. Even capture customer signatures on invoices right on the spot. Track payments anywhere. Watch your invoices go from viewed to paid with real-time alerts. Plus, send reminders to let customers know when payments are past due. Get paid faster with electronic payments, but this will require additional activation. Monitor expenses from any device. Connect your QuickBooks to your bank account, credit card, Square, and more, and your expenses will be automatically imported and tracked for you. Never lose another receipt. Keep up to date with expenses. Use Receipt Snap on the move. Simply snap a photo of your receipt and it will instantly upload to QuickBooks. Automatically track your mileage. There is no more need for logbooks. A few simple setup steps are all that is required. Add your vehicle and turn on location service, and QuickBooks Mobile will begin automatically recording every trip with the GPS tracking built into your mobile device. You can easily review and categorize these trips as business or personal, and the mileage will be captured by the GPS and mapping function already built into your mobile device. Make important decisions with real-time data and business insights at your fingertips. Check your mobile dashboard for up-to-date insights and create clear reports to share with your team. The QuickBooks Online app is a complimentary download that comes with your QuickBooks Online subscription. Get the app for free and take your business anywhere you need to be.
All right, so now that is, as I mentioned, there was a lot of information that we have out here, and that I tried to cover as much as I could, at least kind of give enough familiarity with the program to help you figure out what the next steps are going forward. If you were in this area, you're in, especially if you're in business, you're welcome to reach out to us, and most likely you get set up with me to kind of go through your books, help you get set up, help you make changes to it or whatever else. The key is, again, making sure it's set up correctly and that you do it correctly up front and not waiting too late to fix it. All right. if you want to stop the recording, let's see what kind of questions we got, and I will stay here as long as I need be. I know we only got 5 minutes in the class, but I'm willing to stay here as long as we got